My name is Olive Rush. It used to be Slaughter before I married, but now it's Olive Rush. I was born in 1926. I think I was born in London. I'm not certain. The first thing I can remember in my life was coming to Whitton, and it had, I can't explain it, it was just home. It was in a turning off a main road, and there was nothing up there at all, except on one side there was the Duke of Argyll's, I suppose you could call it, his mansion that was in ruins. I was allowed in. There was a very tall two gates, very high gates, and I suppose it was the spring or summer, I'm not very clear on dates, where all the leaves on it turned red. It's the most beautiful sight. You weren't allowed in, it was strictly private, and as you went in the main gates, I don't know if it was still private then, if you stood on the right-hand side, it went right down, but there was a tree. So to get down, I would hang on the branch, and it would take me right down. But on the left-hand side, there were still ruins, and I could smell the roses, all the smell of those roses. Left-hand side was the caravan, and facing you was the lake. And I think they opened that month for people to skate on. But I shall never forget Whitman, because that's the happiest time of my life, I think. There was no cars, and there was no roads. It was a field. I don't know if the proper name was Clifford's Field, but there were cows right at the top, which led to Nelson Road, Bridge Road, because it was a bridge, and the Fever Hospital. And the nurses used to lodge in some old houses this side of Nelson Road. The nurse, only a couple of them, I suppose they wanted lodgings, so somebody let them have the house. But doctors before that used to ride bikes, and I think they used to charge a shilling to go in, and and half a crown if you came out. I can remember the lamplighter coming round on his bicycle and getting a hook up and lighting the lights. And I can remember my dear dad saying, "You've got to come in when the lamplighter comes." If we didn't, he came out and he whistled. He had a certain whistle which I can't reproduce. I've got no breath. But if we heard that whistle, my brother and I knew we had to go in. So there was a lady in this road which was called Hamilton Crescent. The lady down there opened a little school. There was about 5 of us, and my father had to pay for my brother and I to go to school there. But my life seemed so happy. I had my brother all day. He had a little 16-inch wheel bike. I used to sit on the handlebars. He sat on the saddle, and we used to go up and down Clifford's Field, and there was a great big dip in the middle. That was lovely, up and down on the bicycle. And if we walked a little bit further, we were separated by this ruin. We called it a castle, I suppose it was really. And there was gypsies up the other end, but we didn't go in that end. We used to go in the middle and climb the trees, cedar trees, and there was a pond. Seemed to spend our lives going up and down on this bicycle, getting into woodland woods, climbing the trees. Of course, it all looks happy when you look back and when you're there. But to me, it was a magic childhood, really. And that was my first impression of Whitman, and I loved every minute of it. If we came out of our house into Clifford's field, on the right-hand side, there's a railway going up the bridge. And we used to run up the bridge and do roly-polies down into Clifford's field and watch the trains. When they built St Vincent Road, I think we were one of the first people to move in because it was near Nelson's school. Started building behind the school because it was all fields behind the school. The playground was all fields and trees. I think the school was getting full, and for 2 years they opened 2 classrooms in the park. So in the playtime we used to go and play in Murray Park. Well, we were in Murray Park, and I used to play there, and they used to have fairs there, where you could go like a fairground. It was post to ends with a rope going from the top to the bottom. So you climbed up steps, put your hands up there, and you went all the way down to the bottom. Oh, I loved that. That was beautiful. That was lovely. And they used to have children's things in there to play on. Murray Park was a very nice park. And I think we had a caretaker named Mr. Coster, I think, and he used to ride a bike. He was quite nice. He never chased me out because it wasn't private, was it? He spoke if we spoke to him, I suppose. So I know Murray Park. And later they had a tennis court there. Going up towards the station, there was allotments on the left-hand side and big hoardings. So you didn't see anything until you nearly got to the top where the station was. I don't remember a station though, actually, looking back. But there's a chemist shop right at the top, and just an ordinary road and pavements, no cars. I don't remember any cars. The pub, which was on the right-hand side, was just what I call an old pub, because they've altered it now and it's a horrible pub. But it used to be just old and just one big room, I suppose, and they used to have lovely log fires in there. But still, I think they built up the high street a little bit when we were in St Vincent Road, and then we had a few shops come. Shops, what I call shops, where you could get, I think there was 5 butchers in the end, about 5 shoe shops, a shop for children's things, ladies' things, 2 dress shops. David Greggs came, bought the Haslam Port, and later I think came that big electrical shop that's still there. Opposite the Nelson School, I know I used to go and play with the girl opposite, and her parents had a pig farm. They used to smell terrible, but I used to still go over and play with them. And they were little cottages, tiny little cottages. Coming back to the Nelson in the High Street, there was buses, but going along towards Hounslow, I think you could still go the bus for a penny all the way to Hounslow. There was a big building on the left where now there's flats, and that was a dancing school. And opposite that was Rob Anderson's shop. On the side was written Hollybush Corner, but it's all washed out now with cement head over, I think. And you go in one end, and you come out another door in Hounslow Road. Then coming further down there was little cottages, and maybe even today there's a couple, I don't know, before you get to the pub. The White Hart, I think it was, somewhere around there. But my brother went to Whitton Boys. It was a lovely part of Whitton, though, all around there. And then there was two houses built, and then the vicarage. You couldn't see the house because it was in a field, all trees, and the church. When we went to put our bands up, you had to fight your way to see where the vicarage was. It was an old building. I was a brownie at the guide, and then I was confirmed there and married there, and I should be buried there. It's only church, it's a lovely church. But they called it the Ritz first of all, then they called it the Odeon. We watched it being built and we watched it being pulled down, and we saw Shirley Temple. We saw King Kong there in the original, Fay Ray. I forget who the man was. I was in the Land Army at first, and I went to the Isle of Wight. I was there about a year, then I got transferred to Whitton. But I worked on the land from when I was 17 years and 2 months. I was just start work at 7 in the morning. We had to be there on the field at 7. So I used to cycle in the winter, dark mornings, frosty mornings, going down Mogden Lane. I'd come off at least twice a week, head over heels on a bike. My dad was on night work, and my brother was away, and my mum and I went to the shelter, just where the alleyway was. And when we came out in the morning, my dad came to me to see, walked through the alleyway, and we had broken windows, and his face was covered in soot. The concerts we could hear without going somehow, if the wind was in that direction. So we used to hear the concert. I did go quite frequently, but not every month. The bandmaster was my only thing I knew about it, and he was a prisoner of war in Japan, but I was friendly with the daughter mostly. His wife, the bandmaster's wife, she was a bit older than me, but on D-Day we went up to London with all the crowd up there. I had a job at Man's Farm, and that was lovely. I didn't want to leave that one. It's only my father saying to me, "You don't want this job all your life, I suppose you don't get married." And I thought, well. So I just learned shorthand typing and got a job as a shorthand typist in Regent Street. And I used to cycle to work to save my fare, or to get the workman's at 9p return. Crane Park was nice. I think they've modernised that a little bit now. I used to take my son, when he was a little boy, he used to call it Train Park, where all the trains go by. And you wave to the driver, says, always wave back. Very polite, the drivers of the puffer trains. He was mad on trains. In my mind, even when I go to bed, I think about old Whitman, because that's where I was happiest, I suppose. I think in later life, I couldn't have left Whitman, though I didn't enjoy it, because you've got supermarkets. Now you can walk down the street and you wouldn't see anybody. Now you struggle to keep a straight road, because there's so many people about. It's getting too popular. Time I went, I don't suppose I was there much longer anyway. I wouldn't like to leave it. I came to this house from the church, and my husband carried me over the threshold, which was nice. and I've been here ever since. Got wonderful neighbours, but for me, I could read all the books about Whitman. I can never get enough about Whitman as I knew it. It was the most wonderful place. I'd never want to move. So unfortunately, most of my friends are dead now. Well, they're not dead, they go on, don't they? I like to think you don't pass away, you pass on. Most of them passed on that I knew. I still get a few cards for my birthday. But I've had wonderful friends. Except for my son dying at an early age, I've had a very happy life. A wonderful husband, a wonderful brother, a wonderful mum and dad, so I've been very lucky.